Hello everyone and welcome back to the daily / weekly race guide. We have 3 cracking races this week. Race A is of course it's not Mini Madness, no, it's a copy of Mini Madness. It's Mini Coopers at Goodwood Motor Circuit. Race B is at Dragontrail Gardens in Group 3, which has a very good balance of performance this week, I've got to say. And Race C is at Sardinia Road Track A in Group 1. Let's jump to Goodwood first of all and let's have a little bit more of a look at it. Welcome to Goodwood then, and Race A. Now Race A is 4 laps in length and it's a grid start. Now with the car that we're using, the Mini Cooper, of course it's front wheel drive. So with any front wheel drive, you need traction control to get the best start. So do whack that on before you actually hit 0. In terms of the tyres, we are using sports hard tyres, so fairly grippy tyre in the grand scheme of the car, an N100 car. Our fuel and tyre wear is at time 0. Now, as I say, the car we are using is the Mini Cooper. Absolute remnants of Mini Madness being brought back here. Absolute classic memories, of course. So let's jump to the race and let's see if it's carnage or actually quite good. So here we are at the start. I whack traction control on, and now if you look at the acceleration bar here, you're going to see the red drop down, go back, and then come back down and go back up again. It gets a second spike there in terms of wheel spin. So just be careful of that, turning it off a little bit too early. I hit the limiter there as well, which was a problem. Now normally for most first corners I say avoid the outside. For this one it's not too bad because the cars are so slow to accelerate up towards the top speed here. You can flat out go around the outside and it should be happy days. Now the lower the split you're in, so say if you are in DRD, DRE sort of area, you will have to be careful being on the outside. But further up, DRB, DRA and so on, I think you should be fine being on the outside. You can see now I'm going towards the inside because I know what's coming up here. So this right-hander that's coming up into the left, very sketchy. Now, in either sense, you want to be on the inside for both, but it's pretty much impossible. You can see behind me, the guy's going to go for a launch down the inside. Just be very aware of that. And if you're on the outside, you could get knocked off like those Mini Coopers on the right-hand side there, one we've just passed. Now, be careful of radar as well. As you can see up ahead, lots of Minis spinning all sorts of everywhere. I do notice this, so I just back out of it here. I just want to stay as tight as I can here. And I do that as well to avoid wheel spin. Now, wheel spin on the exit of this corner, very critical. If you can avoid steering as much as possible, you won't get wheel spin. If you get wheel spin, you're going to hit the limiter, and it's going to cost you some speed down the straight here. And you can see we're 3 wide here, and it's not actually that much banging. Now, this is actually top split at that time. It was mainly AS with one BS driver in here. So I expect the level to be sort of similar everywhere. As long as people watch their radar and are careful, it should be fine. You can see here, loads of people here go a bit too deep. They always do it. We saw it in Mini Madness as well. So I'm going to have to back out of it at the chicane of death here. So I back out of it. The guy got behind me goes for a launch. I have no idea why. Never going to work in a month for Sundays. So he has to pull out of that and we carry on. You can see, again, there's been another accident at the chicane of death. People trying to go too wide through there. Very hard to do. Unless you know they're a very, very skilled driver, it isn't going to happen. It really isn't. So try avoid it, back out of it. And I'll show you why in a second. Why you should always back out of it and go for the better run on the exit. Because you'll gain more positions that way. The way I gained positions in this race at the end of the day was actually at the chicane, getting a better run out of it than anywhere else on the circuit. So as you can see here, final lap, we're up to P3 at this moment in time. We've been catching everybody. We've been absolutely firing the laps in here. You can see we're purple again. So we're going to come towards the, well, this is the second to last corner essentially here, double apex. We chuck it in there. We stay in 4th gear. And as we come to here, we're going to brake early and just make sure the car gets through the corner here. Notice how we're not really doing much with the car. We're letting the car roll through the corner and look at the speed we get. I overtook loads of people doing that strategy. Something to think about. Just roll the car through the chicane of death and then accelerate when you're fine and dandy. That's going to be it for Race A. Let's jump back to the menu and have a bit more of a look at Race B. Race B, as I said earlier, has probably one of the best balance of performances I've seen in quite a while. Now, we'll have a look at the cars when we jump into the map, but essentially, bring what you like and you should be fine to race. Welcome to Dragontrail Gardens. We've nearly done every Dragontrail layout now in terms of these daily and weekly race guides. But we're here with Race B, which is 5 laps in length. Now, the rolling start, you don't have to worry about starting in a dodgy position. Even in P16, you just get around the last corner before you start. It's happy days and you can accelerate away, so don't worry about traction control or anything like that. We're on racing hard tyres, of course, because we are in the Group 3 category. And in terms of the fuel usage and tyre wear, there is none. It's an out-and-out sprint race. My kind of race, to be honest. I love sprint races. Now, in terms of the cars, as I say, bring what you like and you should be happy days, really. I've seen all sorts of cars at the top of leaderboards from around the world. But it'll talk about EMEA specifically. At this moment in time, while making this video, the top #1 car is the Ferrari 458 GT3 car. Very interesting car to have. It's good on power, it's got good handling, a little bit unstable on the exit of corners potentially, but it's there or thereabouts. Now, if you don't like MR cars, FR car-wise, I would go with the Toyota Supra at the moment. That seems to be doing very well. But in other regions, as I say, there's other cars doing just fine. So if there's a particular manufacturer you like, why not try it here at Dragontrail Gardens in Race B? Let's jump to the race now and let's have a look at it in a little bit more detail. So here we are at the start here, and you can see we're just about to get round here one, and off we go. Literally right at the very limit there. Any more cars and it would have been dreadful. However, it's not dreadful. We can continue racing here. So I'll take you through a lap and a half or so because there's lots to look at on this lap. But first of all, coming up to turn one, this is all about momentum through the corner. If you can clip the curb on the inside, it will help you round. I don't do it this time, so I get a bit more understeer here. Now, a common move, a good move to do here is to go down the outside here, because you're going to have the inside for the chicane. Now, it's not where you're going to overtake, because you're going to be on the inside, but they're going to have to take the bump now. You're not. Let them take the bump. He gets a bit unstable there. You can see that, and we go straight through. Very good move to try on lap one if you are behind somebody. It just allows you to get a better run on the straight, but it also means they have to take risk taking the sausage curb on the inside there of the chicane. One to look out for. On lap one, of course, always stay on the inside of any hairpin. Just common thing to do here. We accelerate out now. We're heading towards sort of the left, right, left, the S's here at Gardens. Now, someone's going to get it very wrong here. Now, I actually try and go for a common move here. You're going to see this a lot. People dive down the inside. I back out of this, but then all sorts happens up ahead. Everyone starts smashing into each other. Very slow apex there by, I think there was a Supra driver there. And they're going to be 3 wide and 2 wide here. So we come into here. Slight tap by the Porsche driver, just turns into be slightly there, and then the Mercedes does the exact same here. You know, just little common taps there. I wouldn't worry about them too much. If you are on the outside there, just be careful of cars on your inside. If you're on the outside, also be careful of cars running you off the track and understeering off as well. Now, I know these two are going to try and brake as late as possible. The Toyota Supra driver goes a little bit too late. They're going to run on the outside. Be careful of that. Be careful on the outside again. Hairpins, always be careful. Gets a little bit of oversteer on the exit. That's the problem with the Supra. If you're wondering why people potentially might not want to pick the Supra, even though it was one of my picks earlier on. I'm about to show you one of the most common mistakes at Dragontrail Gardens now. It's coming into here. Obviously, you want to clip the curb. This driver does it in front, but then he plants his foot and he's going to understeer off. Very common mistake to do. Just keeps it on. He's going to have dirt on his tyres though there. He's going to have to be very careful into the chicane. I'm going to show you how to do the chicane if you do take the risky sausage curb. Coming up to here, just lift slightly there, half throttle, then go flat out. You should remain a little bit stable. I'd lose a little bit of traction on exit, but nothing to worry about. I'm going to show you now a move into the hairpin here. So I'm trying to overtake this driver here, but I just lose a little bit of the apex there, just miss it slightly. Fortunately, Topper's there, just takes it very cautiously there. Knows that I've gone for the move down the inside. Obviously been dive bombed quite several times there, but fair play to P1 Toppers. Big shout out. But he's about to do another common mistake here at Gardens. As you hit this left, he's missed the curb there. Going to run wide. Going to clip that gravel. I'm going to fire left there. Another common mistake. Be careful of doing that. Now, I actually used a tree. There's a tree on that corner you can use as my turn in and brake marker. It's on the right hand side. When you see that, brake, turn in, you should hit the curb, no problem. But that's going to be it in terms of race B. Nothing much more happens in this race. If you start at the back, you're going to struggle to get to the front. That's all I can really say here, really. But another fun race, I suppose. You will be able to have some good battles on this circuit. Just be careful of hairpins being on the outside, and just be careful of that chicane, because it's a little bit scary in any car, to be honest, if you get it slightly wrong on that sausage curb. So now we get to the interesting one, Race C in Group 1. And I'll say it's interesting because of what you have to do. So let's jump to the track now and I'll talk a little bit more about it. Welcome to Sardinia then, and we're using layout A. Obviously there's 6 layouts, there's A, B and C, and then you've got them backwards. But we're using just the A layout for this one. Now, this race is 13 laps in length, and once again, we've got a rolling start. And once again, you don't have to worry about traction control. You start in a very nice place at the back, so don't worry about that. You can just happy days, plant your foot, and off you go. Now, in terms of the tyres, we are using racing hard tyres only, and the fuel usage is ×6. So straight away, you should see that and go, this is probably a fuel-saving race. And I'll tell you now, it is a fuel-saving race, but we'll get onto that shortly. Now, in terms of tyre wear is ×5. But in the Group 1 cars, which we're in today, tyre wear is okay. I wouldn't worry about tyres, you just have to worry about fuel in this instance, and also worry a little bit about the hybrid. Now, what cars to use? This is where it gets interesting. So, first of all, you have the Audi R18 2016 car, which you will need to use for qualifying. So, if you want to do your time trial laps, use that car. The reason being it's got a more powerful hybrid. But when you get to the race, you want to use the Toyota TS050. The reason being is that it can maintain its hybrid much more, and hybrid is the critical factor here. Now, throughout the race, which I'll get to in a second, I was trying to judge the best way to maintain hybrid, to improve that hybrid, and I've got some good indicators for you where you'll be able to improve your lap times with a little bit more effort, but a lot of gain included. So let's jump to that race, and let's have a look at it in a little bit more detail. So here we are at the start. First of all, you're about to see a bazillion Toyotas there, with one Audi in there, so you can tell who's potentially in the wrong car here. However, it does have a good hybrid when it has hybrid, although we don't here. So, first tip and trick, turn your fuel map to 6, even before you even get to the car. That will work. See, mine was on 5. If I'd have turned it a bit more during that grid area, it would have gone to 6. The reason you do this is because of this bit with the AI. As the AI is driving for you, why let them use all your fuel? Put it fuel map 6, it will then use less fuel and you gain a little bit. Think of all those races where you've just run out just before the line. Same principle here. Whack it to 1 before it hits start, though, of course. That's the risk, forgetting to do that. And off we go here. Now, my brake balance originally at this was +3. I went to +5. I thought +5 in time trial was very slidey, which is why I went to +3. In the race, it's not so bad with fuel in the back of the car. It has weight there. So, +5 brake balance, I would recommend here. That will generate the most in terms of hybrid, I reckon. But even so, we continue on. And coming up to this corner, same as the Dragontrail Gardens, round the outside here. Quite a common move to do because you're going to be on the inside for the right-hander. I just messed this bit up here because I just didn't anticipate the Spanish driver going as slow as he did there on that corner. It went a tiny bit slower than expected, and I had to back out of that really to avoid spinning him out, basically, which is what I did there. Now, coming up to this straight, I get this all sorts of wrong. But at this moment in the race, I'm just trying to work out where I need to save fuel. So don't copy what I'm doing at the moment, because I was just learning myself. I don't practice for these races. I jump in, I try and get a good idea of strategy and what needs to be done from the back of the grid. So as we come up to here, obviously this is a big overtaking opportunity. It's also a big crashing opportunity. You see 1, 2, 3 cars out there and a bit further ahead because some people are going to get it all sorts wrong. We see another couple of cars there getting a mistake. So we go up 5 positions there from other people's mistakes. Be careful of that hairpin because, of course, people are going to dive up your inside. People think they're going to stop it. Remember, first lap, cold tyres. Potentially that's going to have an issue here as well. Into this hairpin, just have to really slow down and back off there to avoid hitting the Frenchman there, and we continue on. Somebody gets wiped out by a cone. Fortunately, it doesn't wipe me out. It did scare me there, but we continue on all the same. And be careful being on the outside here because, like the Spanish driver did there, didn't really lift at all, just pushed me out wide essentially. But I do survive here. But going to advance a bit further on. I'm going to show you a common error. So I showed you one on Gardens where if you clip the gravel on Gardens, you go spinning. Well, here it's if you clip the grass. So you come around here, there's no real curb in there. If you go on the grass there, you'll spin round just like the British driver did there, unfortunately. Very common mistake to do. It's actually better to lift and just roll through that corner because you'll actually get some more hybrid. And a hybrid is what we're now going to talk about for the remainder of this race. You can see my fuel, by the way. I've not quite got enough to get to the end of the race, but I've had to show you what you can do to save a hell of a lot of fuel, because I didn't save fuel early on, which will benefit you massively during this race. So, we're on the penultimate lap here, or about to start it. You can see I've got enough fuel now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start saving hybrid. Now, hybrid in this car, you lift, it will generate hybrid. You see, I lift there well before the braking zone. I generate some hybrid. I then generate hybrid from some braking. I then accelerate out the corner. I'm going to use most of this hybrid. Now, I'm not the best hybrid generator, okay? So, keep that in mind, but this just helps. So, I'm using the brake markers here. 100 I lift off, and then I brake. So, I'm lifting before the corner. That saves fuel. But it also generates hybrid because the car is rolling. It generates hybrid power, this car, from rolling. There's no acceleration there, so it goes, oh, okay, I'll build some hybrid here because we're just free rolling. That's literally what it does. It's what your real life electric cars will do as well. Same principle. So we're going to continue on here. Now, in terms of fuel saving, I had to save a little bit more than normal, but I was shifting it halfway on the bar there. I didn't really lose that much time to the leaders. I was just trying to learn the hybrid a bit more. You can see my laps on the right-hand side. They start to come down quite quick when I grasp how to save this hybrid or build some more of that hybrid up. So I will go through the hybrid markers on the next lap just to explain it a bit more, because the next lap, we are going to catch up to the drivers up front a little bit more, and that's even with this technique. You see I'm rolling there. Again, I'm using brake markers here, so around the 150, I lift off, and then I brake at the 100. I save a little bit of hybrid. I could lift off earlier there, but it's a common reference point. Now, you can use these every single lap because they're always going to be there, and you know you'll be able to generate hybrid. You know that if you lift off there, you'll generate X amount of hybrid. Same principle here. Now, I've got actually a bit too much fuel now because I've been saving fuel for most of the race because I went a bit too hard at the start. So here, I'm just going up the hill. I see the brake marker there, 200. I lift off. As we get to the 100, I brake. Built up the hybrid there. We accelerate through the corner now. We plant our foot. You see that red arrow? We're now using hybrid. So coming up to this left-hander, I use the brake marker on the right side again. I think it's the 100-meter board here. 100, lift, and brake at the gravel. And then I turn it in here. And I'm just rolling the car if I can. Let the car roll a little bit. Once I'm straight, accelerate. Put my foot down, off I go. Now, coming up to here, this one's a bit more difficult. I'll lift around the 50, and then you want to brake in between those two signs on the right. I accelerate through the corner. That's kind of a nice corner, actually, to be fair. And we accelerate now along this straight. We are catching the ones, two guys up ahead. They are racing for position, but I know Zucker had been on for a couple of hours at this point already. But we're going to head up to here now. We lift off very early here, 200 meter, and we brake at the end of that barrier when it switches towards the right a bit further. We then accelerate through that corner. Again, we're accelerating on. We're using a bit more of the revs this time because we've got fuel to spare. We accelerate up. Look, we're 3/10 up on our PB just from doing this. So look, we're rolling and we accelerate through. Again, we're going to do this up to here even. 150 lift, brake at 100. Because if we get more hybrid on the straight, we've got more chance of catching the drivers in front rather than going all the way to the 100 meter and braking and not getting as much hybrid. Hybrid is the critical factor here in this race. The more hybrid you have, the easier it's to overtake because you just plant your foot and go acceleration far ahead of everybody else around you. So think about that during the race. I hope you enjoyed this daily/weekly race guide once again. And if you've got any constructive criticism, please leave it in the comments below. And yeah, subscribe if you want to see more, like all that good stuff. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.